Good morning. It's Monday morning, May 4th? May 4th. It's terrible when we don't even know what day it is, but that's what this virus has done to us. This is the Naples Money Managers news you can use. Today, John Kincaid will be joining us, Marcus Bickle. We've given our Oracle, that's my new name for Dennis Nelson, the Oracle. We've given him the day off today. Well, at least as far as this is concerned. The things we're going to talk about today are, I'm going to talk a little bit about annuities again because I think it's important. When I come back after John is done and after Marcus is done, I'm going to talk a little bit about student loan forgiveness. We're trying to find something every time we talk about it, a little tip that will help you out there or help your children or your grandchildren or someone. So let me talk a little bit about annuities first. Back in 2009, when the markets were crazy, down to 6,200, a lot of people lost half of their portfolios and would come in our door and say, look, we lost half of our portfolios. What are we going to do? We have to grow that money back or we're going to be in trouble for retirement. But we're too scared. And quite frankly, we were kind of scared too. It was horrible out there. So what we did was we took 25% of their portfolio and we put it into a protected growth annuity. By the end of that year, those annuities were up 50%. Now I can tell you for sure, I wouldn't have had the courage to do that for these people who were what I call vulnerable millionaires. A big swing makes a big difference. So if you do need growth, please, before you dismiss annuity because some idiot out there says he'd die and go to hell before he'd buy an annuity, and I can tell you all about that if you want to call me, at least look at them. Find out what they're really about and do they fit your situation. They can save you. So with that, I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to turn it over to Marcus Bickle, who's going to talk a lot about what we've been doing in our portfolios, and then I'll come back and talk about student loan forgiveness. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. May the 4th be with you. It is May the 4th, as Dawn said, and as you can see, I'm looking a little bit different today. I have a new haircut, courtesy of my coworker, John Kincaid.
Woohoo!
Such are the times we live in. I went to my barber this morning, and they are closed until further notice. So, desperate times call for desperate measures. So, as you can see, we're a little bit more open today. Things are opening. If you've been out on the roads, more businesses are open. Good news, right? So we here at the Naples Money Managers decided to kind of increase our positions in the market based on the idea that the economy is reopening. You know, what we do in the Mapato portfolio is we like to not mirror the S&P 500, but stay close to their allocations in the percentages in the sectors, the various industries that are held within that market. So we like things like healthcare, defense, good dividend-paying stocks. Now dividends is something we've talked a lot about over these last couple of weeks. Things that are going to stand the test of time because you've seen a lot of those companies suspend their dividends. Big companies, Boeing, Ford. We talked about that a lot. But these, Raytheon, Verizon, Merck, and finally Abbott Labs, which John will talk a little bit more, are our positions we all bought in our portfolio. I apologize, I miswrote my note. But yeah, so this is a good way to kind of jumpstart the portfolio as things begin to heat up in the economy. We're really hoping that as the governors continue to move forward and reopen, that these are going to catch a lot of the upcoming growth, while still maintaining good income with their dividends.
Well, they talk about the recovery maybe as long as 4 years out there. So are these stocks positioned for that 4-year recovery? Are you feel comfortable with that?
Absolutely. These, in fact, I would say these have a much shorter time horizon than that 4-year recovery. That 4-year recovery, I think, is really aimed at industries that were really, really weakened by this. Restaurants, retailers, things like that. Things are going to take a long time to get people back out there. Drug stocks, communication, defense, all of those were not very much affected, though we did get a nice bargain on some of these.
I did see that healthcare REITs were being pushed on television on some of the financial shows. You know, healthcare has been a really difficult area, and I want to ask you to caution people before they jump into healthcare just because the baby boomers are all needing healthcare.
Absolutely, and to Dawn's point, healthcare has been in the news a lot, and will continue to be. Especially as we go further into this election cycle. I mean, it's been a crazy year, but it is still a presidential year. So we do have a lot of kind of forward looking on the healthcare stocks. So these stocks that we picked, we feel will not be affected going forward, but it is still a very volatile sector. And with that said, I'll bring on John Kincaid.
Thanks, Marcus. Well, it was an interesting weekend for me, and to dovetail with what Marcus has talked about, the foundation of what we do here in the portfolio is lined literally with high quality companies. We refer to them as blue chips. I guess the highest monetary poker chip is where they got the blue chip from. But anyway, the portfolio is made up of a lot of these high quality companies, and that's crucial. There's been about 23 to 30 suspensions of dividends and even cuts of dividends on companies that you would think are very strong companies, yet it's apparent that they're struggling. So notice that Marcus talked about Raytheon, defense contract strong. Merck has been in the business a long time with a long dividend. And then he talked about Abbott. Let me share a little bit with you what I found out over the weekend. Dividends, first of all, show the vitality of companies. They show that companies are very skewed towards shareholders. They appreciate their shareholders. Dividends are literally a share of the profit to shareholders. And that makes not only capital appreciation good in a stock, which is typical for investors, but also extra money on top of that. Abbott is a purchase that we made last week, and I was just curious and started investigating the company that was founded in 1888 by Dr. Abbott. They instituted a dividend in 1924, which means that we're coming up on their 100th year of a dividend payment. What does that tell you about a blue chip company? This is high quality company, and that's what we're looking for. I then remembered a friend of mine, Roger, in Ohio, in Columbus, where I was, and remember that he was at Abbott, so I checked on him, and I see that he's next in line to be the CEO. So we talked. I reached out to him, and I said, what makes Abbott this high quality blue chip company? And he went on and on about his company, but basically 4 business units, different from each other and extremely strong. We buy high quality, and that's what makes these portfolios stellar.
That's great, John. Thank you. All right, well, welcome me back. I'm going to close with a couple of things. One, I talked about student loan forbearance or forgiveness or refinancing, and I will touch on that in a minute. But I want everyone to remember, we're disaster planners. We plan for disasters. That's why I brought up annuities. That's why we talk about our covered call strategy. It's imperative that people be able to survive the worst situation. So when you're looking for your planner, if you're out there and maybe you're not a client, you want to look at their past history. Who's been managing that portfolio? How well did it do in 1987, 1994, 2001 and 2, and 2008 and 9? How did they do? That's how you're going to pick your manager. And that's how you should be choosing us or staying with us, because we are disaster planners. Now, for my little tip on student loans, there's a lot of people out there that are struggling. They have mortgage payments, car payments, student loan payments, kids going to school, and they are struggling without an income. Suggest that they get online and check out student loan forbearance or forgiveness. For 60 days, anyone who's got a student loan, a federal student loan, will have 0% interest. That's going to be automatic, but I think this is the time to go and look at those items and see how can you bring those costs down. There's also if you're not making any income, then they can drop your payments way down based on your income. These are crucial to helping people get from month to month. I think teachers, I know teachers can get forgiveness from between $5,000 to $17,500 on their loans. They have to have had 5 consecutive years teaching. They need to be in elementary or secondary level, and they have to be in one of these areas. For the $17,500, you have to be either math, science, or special education. Everyone else is probably eligible for $5,000, but heck, take $5,000 off a student loan. I'm not going to complain about that. So take a few minutes to get online, look it up, help out your grandkids, your kids, yourselves, whoever's paying a student loan. So again, this is Naples Money Managers with news you can use. Remember, money matters most of all, and most importantly, you matter. We'll see you next Monday.